My name is Mina Carver, and the morning my sister-in-law called me smoke damage in public, she was standing under a firehouse banner that said neighbors carry neighbors. Talia Carver smiled into the microphone, touched my brother's arm, and told the crowd, "Some people stay ruined because they enjoy being rescued." Then she looked straight at me. My brother Eli did not move. He let the room turn and stare at the woman they believed he had sheltered after the fire. What Talia did not know was that Gloria Finch, the laundromat owner who had given me a cot that night, was sitting 3 rows back with an orange claim ticket folded in her palm. Before the coffee went cold, that ticket would show who opened the door, who closed it, and why Talia needed me to keep my mouth shut. If a family ever gave you a name that was not yours, comment the word they tried to stick to you. Mine was smoke damage, and it almost worked. The fire had happened 11 months earlier, on a Tuesday ordinary enough to feel unreal now. I had been making soup in my little apartment over the shoe repair shop on Bain Street when smoke crawled under the door from downstairs. By the time my neighbor banged on my door, the hallway had turned dark. I got out with one shoe on, my purse under my coat, and my mother's chipped blue mug in my hand because it was sitting near the door and grief makes the hand choose strange treasures. Nobody died. I say that first because everything after that sounds small if I do not say it. Nobody died. The shoe repairman had gone home early. The upstairs apartments emptied fast. A dog was carried down in a laundry basket, barking like a tiny engine. I coughed until my ribs hurt, but the hospital said I would be all right if I rested and stayed away from smoke for a while. "Do you have someone to call?" The nurse asked me. I had someone. That was the wound before the wound. My brother Eli lived 12 minutes away in a house with yellow porch lights and a guest room his wife called the Blue Room, because one wall had a blue stripe, and Talia believed naming things made them elegant. We were not a close family in the soft, movie way, but we were close enough for emergencies. At least I thought so. After our mother died, Eli and I had stood in her rented kitchen with trash bags in our hands, crying over the things she left behind. He told me, "It is you and me now, men." I believed him because I wanted to. Whenever Eli forgot my birthday, whenever Talia called me only because someone canceled, I put the disappointment on a shelf inside me and told myself, "It is you and me now." So at the hospital, with smoke in my hair and one shoe gone, I called Eli. He answered on the 5th ring. There was music behind him, soft dinner music and a clatter of plates. "Mina," he said, "what happened?" I told him not all of it. I could not make all of it line up yet. I said fire, hospital, apartment gone, no clothes, no bed tonight. He went quiet in a way I mistook for shock. Then Talia's voice came through, sharper than his. "Put her on speaker." I should have hung up then. Not because I knew what she would say, but because my body knew. My stomach dropped before her first word. "Mina," Talia said, using the patient voice she used with cashiers who would not take expired coupons, "we are hosting the foundation dinner tonight." The foundation dinner was not a foundation. It was 12 people eating roasted chicken in Eli's dining room while Talia collected checks for whatever cause had recently made her look generous in photographs. That month it was winter coats. Talia loved a cause with a tablecloth. "I can sit in the garage," I said. I hated how fast I offered to make myself smaller. "Just tonight. I can shower somewhere tomorrow. I do not need the guest room." Eli started. "Tal, maybe I can." She cut him off. "Smoke gets into everything, curtains, upholstery, mattresses, we have guests." "I am not bringing furniture," I said. "It is just me." There was a pause. I heard someone laugh in the background of my brother's house, a bright, clean laugh from a room where nobody's hair smelled burned. Talia sighed. "That is what I mean, Mina. It is always just you, and somehow it becomes everyone else's crisis." I looked down at my hospital bracelet. It had my name spelled right. That felt like kindness. Eli said, softer, "Maybe one night would not." "No," Talia said. Then to me, "You need to call a shelter or one of those emergency places. We cannot take smoke damage into the house. Smoke damage, not smoke on my coat, not a person who had survived a fire. Damage. The nurse stepped into the hallway with discharge papers, and I lowered the phone because I did not want her to hear my family naming me a thing that needed to be kept away from curtains. "Eli," I said one last time. My brother breathed into the phone. That was all. Then he said, "I am sorry, Talia is right about the guests." The shelf inside me cracked. I did not yell. I did not beg. I did not say all the things that come to you later in the shower, months too late, when you finally have a hot shower again. I said, "Okay." Then I ended the call and handed the discharge papers back to the nurse because my hands were shaking too hard to fold them. I spent the next 20 minutes in the hospital lobby pretending to search my purse while I tried to decide where a person goes when her home is ash and her family is upholstery. The answer came because of my mother's blue mug. It was the only thing I had carried out besides my purse. The handle was chipped, the glaze worn pale where her thumb had rested every morning. On the bottom, in black marker, she had written Finch Street Laundry, because that mug had once belonged to a break room at the laundromat where she worked after our father left. Finch Street Laundry was still there. I had not been inside in years. The sign still had the same bright red socks painted on it, though one sock had peeled at the heel. It was 4 blocks from the hospital. I told myself I would go there only because it was warm and open late. I told myself I would sit under the buzzing lights until morning. I told myself a lot of things that night to keep from admitting I was walking toward a memory because the living had refused me. At midnight, Finch Street Laundry smelled like soap, warm metal, and somebody's orange dryer sheets. 3 machines turned lazily along the left wall. A man in a paint-spotted jacket slept sitting up near the vending machine with a basket at his feet. The television above the folding table showed a cooking show with no sound. Behind the counter stood Gloria Finch. She was older than I remembered, of course, but in my mind she had always been old, even when I was a child. She wore her gray hair in a knot and had reading glasses on a chain. She was counting quarters into paper rolls, moving her lips with each stack. When the bell over the door rang, she looked up. For 1 second, she only saw a stranger in a hospital blanket. Then her eyes dropped to the mug in my hand. "Mina Carver," she said. Hearing my name from her did something dangerous. It made me cry. I did not sob. I did not fold over. I stood there in one shoe, clutching a stolen mug from her own break room, and tears slid down the smoky tracks on my cheeks. Gloria came around the counter faster than I thought she could move. "Sit," she said, pulling out a plastic chair. "Put that mug down before you drop your mother." That was Gloria. She could be tender and bossy in the same breath, and somehow both were mercy. I sat. She poured coffee into a paper cup, then looked at the cup, looked at the mug, and poured the coffee into my mother's blue mug instead. "Tell me what burned," she said. I told her the apartment. Then, because she did not interrupt, I told her the shoe shop, then the hospital, then my brother. I did not mean to tell her what Talia said, but it came out in the same flat voice as the rest. She called me smoke damage. Gloria's face changed. Not big, just a stillness around the mouth. "People love calling a person by the mess they survived," she said. "Makes it easier to ignore the person." She did not ask if I had money. She did not ask why I had not planned better for a fire that started inside someone else's wall. She walked to the back room and came out with a towel, a pair of old sneakers, and a plastic laundry bag. "You got clothes anywhere?" she asked. "The ones on me." "Then those go in a washer, and you go upstairs." Upstairs. Storage room has a cot. My late husband used to nap there when the boilers acted up. It is ugly, but ugly beats outside. I shook my head. "I cannot pay." I did not say rent it. I said go upstairs. I started crying again, which annoyed me. I was 37 years old. I had managed a dental office for 9 years. I knew how to calm angry patients, order supplies, handle a waiting room full of people who blamed me for the dentist being late. I had survived layoffs, our mother's chemo bills, and every family dinner where Talia corrected how I held a wineglass. But kindness at midnight undid me. Gloria pretended not to notice. She took an orange claim ticket from a pad beside the register and wrote across it in thick black marker. Mina Carver. One smoky coat, one sweater, one pair of pants. Caught upstairs. No charge tonight. She tore the ticket in half, clipped one side to my laundry bag, and handed me the other. "So you remember what is yours," she said. It was a laundry ticket, a scrap of paper, nothing official, nothing important enough for a frame if you measured life in money. But I kept it. The upstairs storage room had cracked linoleum, 3 towers of old detergent boxes, and a cot with a brown blanket folded at the end. There was a small window facing the alley. Through it I could see the steam from the laundromat vent making white ghosts in the cold. I slept for maybe 2 hours at a time. Smoke woke me, though there was none. Sirens woke me, though they were far away. Once I woke because I thought I heard Talia saying, "We cannot take smoke damage into the house." I sat up so fast I hit my elbow on a detergent box. At 6 in the morning, Gloria knocked with 2 boiled eggs, toast wrapped in a napkin, and my clothes folded warm in a basket. "Your coat is probably done for," she said, "but your sweater came back." No sermon, no questions about my plans, just toast and a sweater that smelled like lavender instead of smoke. That was how my new life started, not with a miracle. With a woman who knew how to remove smoke from cotton and shame from a room. For the first week, I helped Gloria clean lint traps and wipe machines because I could not stand being only helped. My apartment insurance was a joke, the kind you buy because the lease requires it, and then learn it covers almost nothing you need. The building owner said the repairs would take months. The shoe shop never reopened. My clothes were gone, my papers were wet, and my phone kept filling with messages from people I barely knew. "Heard about the fire. Are you okay? Talia said you're staying with them. Glad you have family. Your brother and Talia are angels." That last one came from a woman at Talia's church, whose name I never remembered because she had always called me Eli's sister, as if that were a job title. I stared at the messages for a long time before I understood. Talia had not just turned me away. She had turned me into a story. At first, I thought maybe people assumed. Maybe Talia had said nothing. Maybe the church lady filled in the blank because family is supposed to do what family is supposed to do. I gave Talia a little grace in my mind because some habits are hard to kill. When you spend years explaining someone's small cruelties as stress or personality, or just how she is, you keep reaching for excuses even after the truth has teeth. Then Gloria came downstairs one afternoon with her phone pinched between 2 fingers like it smelled bad. "You should see this," she said. Talia had posted a picture of her dining room table covered with winter coats. Eli stood behind her, half smiling, hands in his pockets. The caption read, "This season has reminded us that opening your home matters. After walking with family through a sudden loss this week, we are more committed than ever to helping neighbors find warmth." Opening your home, I read it twice. I could not breathe right. In the photo behind Eli's shoulder, I could see the doorway to the blue room. The bedspread was smooth. The pillows were untouched. Gloria watched my face. "Want me to comment?" "No." "You sure?" "No," I said, "but do not." She put the phone down. "All right, then what are you going to do?" I looked at the row of dryers. They were turning towels, sheets, uniforms, baby clothes, all of it moving in circles until it came back clean enough to use again. "I am going to work," I said. It sounded stronger than I felt, but Gloria nodded like I had announced a wise plan. Work saved me in the plainest way, not because it healed me quickly, and not because I became brave overnight. Work saved me because it gave my hands a reason to be here before my heart caught up. I learned Finch Street laundry the way you learn a person you live beside. Machine 6 shook when loaded with blankets. Dryer 3 ran hot. The change machine needed a smack on the left side, not too hard, just enough to remind it of its duty. The front window caught morning sun at exactly 8:15, making every dust mote look briefly holy. The customers taught me too. People tell the truth in laundromats because they are already holding their private lives in baskets. A father washing school uniforms because his wife was in the hospital. A teenager drying a single hoodie before a job interview. A woman with 2 children who waited until midnight because that was when nobody from work would see her counting quarters. I became useful in ways nobody could put on a banner. I watched machines for people who had to run to the pharmacy. I kept spare socks under the counter. I learned that if you folded a child's shirt with the cartoon facing up, the child would smile even if the day had been bad. Gloria paid me after the second week. I refused because I was sleeping upstairs. She slid the envelope across the counter anyway. "I pay workers," she said. "I do not collect gratitude as rent." That sentence stayed with me. There are people who help you and then keep the help hanging over your head like a light bulb you are never allowed to turn off. Talia was like that even when her help was imaginary. Gloria was different. She gave a cot, a job, and a rule: stand up inside the help. Do not shrink under it. By the end of the first month, I had moved from the cot to the little apartment above the laundromat. It had 1 room, a narrow bathroom, and a kitchenette with a hot plate. The radiator knocked at night. The alley window still showed steam. It was not much, and it was everything. Eli called once. I let it ring. He texted, "Min, please call me. Things got twisted." I typed back, "Did you tell people I stayed at your house?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. Then Talia handled the post. It was not meant that way. I put the phone face down and went back to folding towels. That was the pattern for months. Talia spoke in public. Eli explained in private. I worked in silence. The more Talia's story grew, the cleaner it became. In her version, I arrived on their doorstep with smoke in my hair and fear in my eyes. She and Eli wrapped me in blankets. They gave me the blue room. They helped me rebuild dignity. She loved that phrase, rebuild dignity. She used it at a brunch at the firehouse planning meeting in a caption under a picture of donated gloves. Nobody asked me. That was the part people do not understand unless they have been inside a family story written without them. The lie does not need your agreement. It only needs your absence. And I was absent because I was tired. I was tired of waking up afraid. Tired of smelling smoke where there was only toast. Tired of losing things in small waves. First the apartment. Then the couch I had saved for. Then the box of Christmas ornaments. Then the receipt for my mother's last hospital parking pass that I had kept for no good reason, except love makes trash sacred. Some days I hated Talia for the lie. Some days I hated myself for caring. Some days I looked at the orange claim ticket tucked behind the register glass and wondered why a scrap of paper felt more loyal than my brother. The ticket faded a little from sunlight. Gloria noticed and moved it to a small frame near the coffee maker. "It is not decor," I said. "No," she said. "It is a receipt for the truth." I almost laughed. That sounds dramatic. Truth is dramatic when people keep sitting on it. Gloria had a way of saying things like she was only talking about laundry and somehow rearranging your spine. Spring came damp and gray. The fire building was boarded up. For a while I walked a longer route so I did not have to see my old window covered in plywood. Then one morning, Gloria handed me a box of donated detergent samples and said, "Bring these to the community closet on Baines. Your legs work. Avoiding streets makes them forget." So I went. The community closet was a back room behind the food pantry. While I was there, a young mother came in with a baby on her hip and a trash bag of smoke-stained clothes in her hand. There had been a kitchen fire in her building. She kept apologizing to the pantry volunteer. "I know clothes are not food," she said. "I just do not know where to wash them. My baby smells like the fire." Something in me stood up. "Bring them to Finch Street," I said. She looked at me, embarrassed. "I have $6. "Bring them anyway." When I got back, I told Gloria what I had done. I expected a lecture about money, utilities, soap, business. Instead, she opened the register, took out a little stack of quarters, and put them in a jar. Then we need a name, she said. For what? For bringing them anyway. That was how clean start nights began. Every Thursday after 7, people who had been through a fire, flood, shelter move, hospital stay, or any hard thing that left their clothes carrying the day could come wash one load free. We put a sign in the window. We kept it simple. Clean start nights. Thursdays, ask Mina or Gloria. At first it was 3 people, then 7, then a family of 5 with pillowcases full of clothes after a building pipe burst. We did not ask for proof. Gloria said suffering already had too many counters. We gave quarters, soap, hot coffee, and space to breathe. Captain Marlowe from the firehouse came in one Thursday with a box of smoke alarms and a stack of folded blankets. He was a broad man with a careful voice, the kind of man who had learned not to startle people. "Heard you were helping people after calls," he said. Gloria pointed at me. She started it. I shook my head. Gloria gave the quarters. "Mina gave the reason," Gloria said. Captain Marlowe looked at me for a second longer than was comfortable. "Were you in the Baines Street fire?" "Yes." "I thought so." He tapped the counter gently. "I remember the blue mug." I had not remembered him, but I remembered the firefighters as a blur of helmets, gloves, and voices telling me to breathe slow. "You okay these days?" he asked. I said, "Some days." He nodded as if that was a complete answer. "Some days counts." After that, the firehouse sent people our way. Not officially. Not with paperwork or speeches. Just a firefighter telling a family, "Finch Street can help with laundry," or Captain Marlowe dropping off donated coats without making a performance of it. Talia found out by summer. I know because her messages changed. Before, she sent careful little bridges through Eli. "Tell Mina we are glad she is finding her feet. Tell Mina the post was misunderstood. Tell Mina we should all have coffee and move forward." After Clean Start nights started getting mentioned around town, Talia texted me directly for the first time since the fire. "Mina, I hear you are doing something sweet at the laundromat. We should coordinate. I have contacts." I stared at the word sweet until it blurred. Talia loved contacts. She loved anything that meant standing between people and what they needed, smiling as if she had invented generosity. She had contacts for coat drives, contacts for silent auctions, contacts for floral centerpieces donated at half price. She had no contact, apparently, for the woman in a hospital blanket asking for a corner of a garage. I did not answer. She tried again 2 days later. The firehouse is planning a winter warmth event in November. They are recognizing community partners. "Eli and I would love for you to attend as family. It would mean a lot after everything we went through together. Everything we went through together. There it was again. The theft nobody puts in a police report. Not money, not jewelry, experience." Talia had taken my worst night, placed herself in the center, and made compassion wear her face. "If you have ever been useful to people who would not claim you in public, stay with me." The proof had not even entered the room yet. I showed the message to Gloria. "She wants a photograph," Gloria said. "Probably." "No, not probably. She wants a photograph of you standing beside her. Then every lie gets a frame." I leaned against the folding table. "I do not want to go." "I know." "Then do not tell me I should." Gloria snorted. "I am not your conscience, Mina. I am your landlord. Worse, I am your friend. That means I get to be annoying, not in charge." I smiled despite myself. She wiped the counter, then looked at the framed orange ticket by the coffee maker. "There are 2 ways to keep a lie alive. One is to tell it. The other is to stay so quiet that everyone mistakes quiet for agreement." I was surviving. I know. I am still surviving. I know that too. I hated how gentle she was when she said it. It left no wall to push against. The firehouse event sat on the calendar like a hot coal. November 17th. Winter Warmth Community Drive. Talia's boutique, Hearth and Grace, was the main sponsor. That was new. She had opened the boutique 2 years before and filled it with candles, throw pillows, little wooden signs that said "Home is where the heart rests." I used to joke to myself that her whole store was a museum of feelings she did not practice. The event mattered to her. There would be pictures in the town paper, donors, families, firefighters, a row of coats hanging by size, a table with coffee and pastries, a small stage area under the big banner. She needed me there because stories decay if the person inside them never appears. People had begun noticing. Somebody from the pantry had said to somebody at church that Mina lived over Finch Street Laundry, not at Eli's house. Somebody else had seen me leave the laundromat at dawn after clean start night and asked why I was not helping with Talia's drive. Stories rub against each other in a small town. Eventually, one of them snags. Eli came to the laundromat 6 days before the event. He arrived in the afternoon when the place was quiet except for dryer 3 humming too hot. He looked older than he had at the fire, though only months had passed. His hair was thinning at the temples. He wore the gray coat I had given him for Christmas 3 years earlier. I was cleaning the soap drawer on machine 8. "Min," he said. I kept wiping. "Eli." He looked around the laundromat like the machines might judge him. Maybe they did. Machine 6 rattled hard at that moment, and I was grateful for its timing. "Can we talk?" he asked. "We are talking." He swallowed, privately. Gloria, from behind the counter, said without looking up from her crossword, "I am old, not deaf." Eli flushed. I did not mean. "Then say what you mean," she said. He turned back to me. "Talia says you have not answered about the event." "That is true. It would help if you came." I finally looked at him. "Help who?" He rubbed his forehead. "Do we have to do it like this? I did it your way for years. This is just answering the question." His face tightened. There was a time when that expression would have made me soften. Eli did not like conflict. He had survived childhood by becoming agreeable, by sensing weather before it broke. I understood that. I had done my own version. But understanding someone's reason is not the same as volunteering to be the place they put their fear. "It would help everyone," he said. "No, try again." He looked at Gloria, then back at me. "It would help Talia. People have been asking things." Because she lied. She made it sound better than it was. I laughed once, not because anything was funny. She made it sound like I slept in your guest room. He dropped his eyes. "Did I?" I asked. "No." "Did I sleep in your garage?" "No." "Did you pick me up from the hospital?" "No." "Did you come here the next morning?" "No." Each answer came out smaller. Gloria set her pen down. She did not say anything. She did not need to. I put the rag on top of the washer. "Then what exactly did you go through with me?" Eli's mouth moved before words came. "I wanted to come," Talia thought. I did not ask what Talia thought. He looked wounded by that, which almost made me angry enough to shake. There he stood, in a warm coat I had bought him, asking me to protect the woman who had turned my emergency into her advertisement, and he had the nerve to look wounded because I would not let him hide behind her name. "I was scared," he said finally. That stopped me. Not because it excused him, it did not, but because it sounded true. Of Smoke, I asked. Of her reaction, of the dinner falling apart. Of everyone knowing we did not have things together, I do not know, it sounds stupid. It sounds honest. His eyes lifted. "It is still ugly," I said. He nodded. For a second he looked like the boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms and pretend he was checking if I was scared. "I am sorry," he said. The words landed in me, but not where he wanted them to land. They did not open a door. They touched a bruise. "Are you sorry enough to tell people the truth at the event?" He went pale. There it was, the edge of his sorry. "Mina," he said, "in front of everyone." That is where she lied. He looked toward the front window, where sunlight hit the red sock sign. "You know what that will do?" "Yes." "Her store is sponsoring, the firehouse." "Yes." "People will talk." "They already are. They are just using the wrong facts. He rubbed his hands together. Could we just say it was complicated? I picked up the rag and rinsed it in the bucket. It was not complicated. It was cold outside, and I had nowhere to go, and you said no. His face folded then, not dramatically, but enough that I saw pain. I also saw a man still hoping pain would be accepted as payment. I do not know how to fix it, he said. Start by not asking me to help keep it broken. He left without promising anything. That night, I took the orange ticket from its frame. I held it under the lamp in my little apartment. The paper had softened at the fold. Gloria's handwriting was still bold, the letters pressed deep because she always wrote like the paper might argue. Mina Carver. One smoky coat, one sweater, one pair of pants. Caught upstairs. No charge tonight. I thought about the word proof. People imagine proof as something grand. A recording. A signed letter. A witness standing up in a courtroom. But most truths in ordinary lives are smaller. A receipt. A key. A pillow that was never slept on. A laundromat ticket that says where you were when your family said you were somewhere else. I put the ticket in my coat pocket. On the morning of the event, Gloria wore her best black coat and a red scarf. She looked like she was going to church and a fight at the same time. You do not have to come, I told her. I know. I mean it. So do I. She locked the laundromat door behind us even though it was Saturday morning and we were usually open. On the glass, she taped a handwritten sign, closed until noon. If you need clean start help today, come to the firehouse. That is bold, I said. No, she said. That is directions. The firehouse bay had been transformed into Talia's favorite kind of mercy. White tablecloths over folding tables. Mason jars with fake snow. Coats sorted by size on metal racks. A photo backdrop with paper snowflakes. The big red trucks had been moved outside, gleaming in the cold, because even generosity needed good lighting when Talia was near it. Hearth and Grace banners hung on both sides of the coffee table. Talia's boutique logo was stamped on the little tags tied to each donated scarf. Home begins with warmth, the tags said. I stood in the doorway for a moment and felt my lungs tighten. The last time I had been around firefighters and smoke, I was wrapped in a blanket, trying not to cough in someone's face. The smell in the firehouse was coffee, waxed floor, damp wool, and cinnamon pastries. No smoke. Still, my body remembered before my mind could calm it. Gloria touched my elbow. Feet on the floor, she said. That was all. Not be brave. Not you can do this. Just feet on the floor, so I put both feet flat and walked in. People noticed me slowly. A few smiled with surprise. Some looked from me to Talia's banner and back again, trying to place me inside the version they had heard. Talia saw me from across the room. For 1 second, panic flashed through her eyes. Then she became herself. Smile, shoulders, open arms. Mina, she called, loud enough for nearby people to hear. You came. She crossed the room and hugged me before I could decide whether to step back. She smelled like vanilla perfume and expensive wool. Against my ear, she whispered, Thank you for not making this hard. I did not hug her back. When she pulled away, her smile sharpened. You look well. Laundromat work agrees with you. There it was, the little downward pat disguised as praise. Work usually does, I said. Her eyes flicked to Gloria. Mrs. Finch, how nice. Gloria is fine, Gloria said. Talia's smile thinned. Of course. Eli stood near the coffee table, holding a stack of programs. He saw me and looked away first. That hurt more than it should have. Even after everything, some childish part of me had hoped he would cross the room and stand beside me without being asked. Captain Marlowe walked up, saving us from whatever Talia planned to say next. Mina, he said warmly. Gloria, glad you made it. Talia turned fast. You know Mina. Finch Street has been helping families after calls, he said. Hard not to know the people doing the work. The sentence was simple, it still landed. Talia's mouth made a small shape, then recovered. Yes, she said. We are all so proud of Mina finding a way to give back after we helped her through such a rough beginning. Captain Marlowe glanced at me. Not long, just enough. I put my hand in my coat pocket and touched the ticket. The program started at 11. A firefighter thanked donors. A little boy in a coat too big for him ran in circles until his grandmother caught him by the hood. People drank coffee and clapped at the right places. Then Captain Marlowe introduced Talia and Eli as the lead sponsors of the Winter Warmth Drive. Talia took the microphone like it had been waiting all morning for her hand. Eli stood beside her, stiff, eyes down. She began beautifully. I will give her that. Talia knew how to make a room lean in. She talked about cold nights, about neighbors, about opening doors. She talked about how a coat was not just a coat. It was dignity. It was hope. It was proof that someone cared. Then she turned toward me. This cause became personal for our family this year, she said, voice softening. Many of you know my sister-in-law, Mina. After the Baines Street fire, Eli and I walked with her through a difficult season. We saw how loss can cling to a person. We saw how easy it is for someone to become. She paused, as if searching for a kind word and choosing honesty instead. Well, smoke damage. A few people made sympathetic sounds. Talia nodded as if accepting their compassion on my behalf. But we also saw that love can air out what pain leaves behind, she continued. That is why Hearth and Grace believes in making homes warm again. My face went cold. Not hot, cold. There are moments when rage finally matures. It stops shaking. It stops screaming. It stands very still and knows its own name. Talia kept talking. Of course, some people stay ruined because they enjoy being rescued. She looked at me then, fully, publicly. My brother did not move. The room turned. I heard a dryer in my memory, the heavy thump of wet coats. I heard Gloria saying, "So you remember what is yours." I heard my own voice on the hospital phone saying, "I can sit in the garage." I heard Eli breathing instead of answering. I walked forward, not fast, not dramatic, just forward. Talia's eyes widened. Mina. I held out my hand for the microphone. For a second, she did not give it to me. Then Captain Marlowe stepped closer and she placed it in my palm like it had burned her. My hand shook once. I wrapped my other hand around it. My name is Mina Carver, I said. The room quieted. The night of the Baines Street fire, I called my brother from the hospital. I asked for a place to sleep. I offered to sit in his garage. Eli closed his eyes. Talia's smile stayed on, but it had no life in it. Talia said they could not take smoke damage into the house. A sound moved through the room. Not loud. Enough. Talia reached for the microphone. Mina is emotional, the trauma. I stepped back from her hand. You told them I stayed in the blue room, I said. So I want to ask one question. I turned to Eli. Which room did I sleep in? Every face went to my brother. That was the cruelest mercy I ever gave him. A chance. Eli looked at Talia, then at me, then at the floor. Eli, Talia said, very softly, but the microphone caught it. He swallowed. She did not sleep at our house, he said. The room changed. You could feel it, like a tablecloth being pulled from under dishes and everything waiting to see what broke. Talia said, that is not the whole. Which room? I asked again. Eli's voice came rough. None. I reached into my pocket and unfolded the orange ticket. This is where I slept, I said. I read it slowly because the room needed simple truth more than a speech. Mina Carver, one smoky coat, one sweater, one pair of pants, caught upstairs, no charge tonight. I turned the ticket so the closest people could see Gloria's heavy writing, the date stamped in the corner, the tier where the other half had been clipped to my laundry. Gloria Finch wrote this at midnight, I said. She washed my clothes. She gave me coffee in my mother's mug. She gave me a cot above the laundromat. Later, she gave me work. That is the door that opened. Gloria stood from the third row. She did not come to the front. She did not need the stage. I remember the night, she said, voice carrying in the way older women learn when nobody hands them microphones. Mina came in wearing one shoe and a hospital blanket. She kept apologizing for smelling like smoke. I wrote that ticket so she would know her things were safe. Her family did not come for her. Talia's face flushed red under her makeup. Captain Marlowe stepped beside me. Finch Street has helped 12 families after fire calls this year, he said, quietly, without asking for anything back. Someone clapped once, then stopped unsure. I looked at Talia. She was still standing under the banner that said neighbors carry neighbors, but now the words looked like a question above her head. You used my fire to sell warmth, I said. The sentence was not planned. It came from somewhere clean. Talia whispered, How dare you? It was the wrong thing to whisper near a microphone. The room heard. After that, the event did not explode. Real life rarely gives you the satisfaction of a perfect explosion. Nobody threw pastries. Nobody fainted. Nobody confessed every sin. What happened was quieter and worse for Talia. People began stepping away from her table. One woman untied the hearth and grace tag from a scarf and laid it face down. A man from the hardware store folded his check back into his coat pocket. The church lady who had messaged me that Eli and Talia were angels stared at my brother like she had discovered the wings were cardboard. Captain Marlowe took the microphone gently from my hand. We are going to take 10 minutes, he said. His voice stayed calm. When we come back, all donations for emergency laundry support will go through Finch Street Clean Start nights. Coat donations still stay right here for families. We will sort sponsorship details after the event. Sponsorship details. That was the polite phrase for taking Talia's name off the morning. 2 firefighters removed the hearth and grace banners from beside the coffee table. They did not make a show of it. They just unclipped them and leaned them against the wall, blank sides out. In their place, a teenage volunteer taped up Gloria's handwritten sign from our front door. Closed until noon. If you need clean start help today, come to the firehouse. People read it. Then they looked at Gloria. Then at me. It was not triumph I felt. That surprised me. I had imagined during angry nights that public truth would feel like victory, warm and bright. Instead, it felt like taking off a coat I had been forced to wear in summer. Relief, yes. Air, yes. But also exhaustion. My arms ached from carrying the lie even after I put it down. Talia walked out before the program resumed. She did not look back. Eli started to follow her, stopped, then stood there with the program still in his hand. For 1 second, I thought he might come to me. He did not. He placed the programs on a table and went outside alone. That was Eli. Even his better choices arrived late and unsure. The rest of the event continued because families still needed coats. That mattered more than Talia's humiliation. Children tried on mittens. Volunteers poured coffee. Gloria sat at a folding table with a jar of quarters, and people began dropping bills into it without speeches. A woman came up to me holding a red toddler coat. My kitchen caught last winter, she said. I still have a bag in my trunk I could not get clean. Bring it Thursday, I told her. She nodded like I had given her more than laundry. Maybe I had. By afternoon, the firehouse had collected 4 racks of coats, 17 blankets, and enough money to run clean start nights through spring. Captain Marlowe asked if he could take a photo of Gloria and me beside the donation jar. I almost said no. Photos made me think of Talia, frames around lies. But Gloria leaned toward me and said, Let truth have won. So we stood there, not under the big banner, not at the center of the staged backdrop, but beside the table with the jar of quarters. Gloria held my mother's blue mug. I held the orange ticket. The photo ran in the local paper the next week with a small headline. Laundromat program offers clean start after loss. Talia was not mentioned. That may have hurt her more than if they had dragged her name through the mud. Talia knew how to fight accusation. She did not know what to do with absence. The consequences came in ordinary pieces. Hearth and Grace lost the firehouse partnership first. Captain Marlowe sent a short note thanking Talia for past donations and saying future drives would be coordinated directly through the station and community volunteers. She posted about misunderstandings and the pain of private matters being made public. People reacted with little hearts at first, then fewer. Comments slowed. The next coat drive used plain tags with sizes, no boutique logo. The church asked Talia to step back from the winter committee. Not forever, they said, just this season. Churches can make a knife sound like a napkin. Eli came by 3 days after the event. He did not enter at first. He stood outside the laundromat window while Rain spotted his coat, looking at the red sock sign like it might decide for him. Finally, the bell rang. I was folding sheets. Gloria was in the back room, loudly pretending not to be listening. Eli held a cardboard box. "I found these in the garage," he said. I almost smiled at the word garage, but I did not. He set the box on the folding table. Inside were 3 things from our mother's duplex that I thought had been lost when Eli moved houses: a small recipe tin, her sewing scissors, and a stack of photographs tied with a rubber band. On top was one of Eli and me as children, both of us sitting on the laundromat floor beside a basket, grinning with missing teeth while our mother worked the counter behind us. "I should have given them to you years ago," he said. "Yes." He nodded, no defense, that was new. "Talia moved to her sister's for a while," he said. I kept my hands on the sheet. "I did not ask." "I know, He looked toward the back room, then at me. "I am not asking you to forgive me today." "Good." He flinched, but he stayed. "I did a cowardly thing," he said. Then I let her build a pretty story over it because that was easier than admitting what I did. "I am sorry. Not in the way where you have to make me feel better. Just, I am sorry." There was no music, no soft light except the laundromat fluorescence. A machine beeped because someone had left towels waiting. "What do you want, Eli?" He looked at the donation jar, then the sign for clean start nights. "To pay for Thursday," he said. I shook my head. "No." "Mina." "No, you do not get to buy your way into the story now." His face reddened, but he took the hit. "Then what can I do?" It was a better question than an apology. I respected it, though I was not ready to soften. I pointed to the dryer. "Fold those towels." He blinked. "What?" "Machine 3. Towels, fold them. Corners together. If you do it badly, Gloria will correct you like she corrected me." From the back room, Gloria called, "I heard that and I will." Eli almost smiled. Then he took off his coat, rolled up his sleeves, and folded towels for 40 minutes. He did not talk much. Neither did I when he left. He put no money in the jar. The next Thursday, he came back with 2 boxes of detergent. He set them by the counter and said, "Donation," then folded towels again. I let the detergent stay. That is what I mean when I say one relationship changed, not healed. Eli did not become the brother I wished he had been. I did not become the sister who could pretend the fire ended when the flames went out. We built something narrower and more honest. He came on Thursdays. He worked. Sometimes we talked about Mom. Sometimes we did not. He never asked me to speak to Talia. Talia did not apologize, not really. She sent one email in January with the subject line family. I opened it because curiosity is not always wisdom. It said she regretted that I experienced the event as hurtful and hoped I would one day understand the pressure she had been under to keep things positive. I read it once. Then I printed it, brought it downstairs, and showed Gloria. She adjusted her glasses. "This is not an apology. This is a couch with plastic on it." "What does that mean?" "It means nobody can sit comfortably, but she thinks it looks preserved." I kept the email for a week, then threw it away. Not because I was above anger. I was not. I threw it away because my apartment was small, and I had decided not to give shelf space to sentences that asked me to shrink. Winter settled in hard that year. Snow crusted along the curb. The laundromat windows fogged every night. Clean start nights grew. People came after apartment fires, after shelters, after bad breakups, after leaving houses where their clothes smelled like someone else's anger. We washed coats, school uniforms, work shirts, baby blankets, one wedding dress that a woman did not want to keep but was not ready to throw away. We never asked for the whole story. Sometimes people gave it anyway. We gave quarters, soap, and the kind of quiet that lets a person decide how much to say. One Thursday in March, Eli came early to carry detergent. He had lost weight. He and Talia were still separated, though nobody said the word out loud. He looked calmer and sadder, which sometimes happens when a person stops defending the wrong thing. As we unloaded boxes, he paused beside me. "Mom would like this," he said. I did not answer right away. Our mother had worked at Finch Street when we were small. She used to bring us there after school with peanut butter sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. She said laundromats were honest places because nobody could pretend forever when they had to fold underwear in public. "Yes," I said. "She would." Eli nodded. "She would also be mad at me." "Yes," I said again. He gave a small, pained laugh. "You do not soften much anymore." "I do, just not on command." He looked at me then, and for once he did not seem to want me to take it back. "Good," he said. That was one of the first moments I believed he might actually change. Not because he said the right apology, but because he survived a true sentence without asking me to wrap it in padding. The new normal did not look impressive from the outside. I still lived above the laundromat. My kitchen table wobbled. My couch came from a neighbor's cousin and had one cushion that sank lower than the others. I bought a new coat in February, navy blue, with deep pockets. In the left pocket, I kept quarters. In the right, breath mints and a small flashlight. I no longer carried the orange ticket everywhere. It had done its work. Every morning, I unlocked the laundromat before sunrise. The bell rang. The machines waited with round silver mouths. I wiped the counter, filled the coffee pot, and put my mother's mug where I could see it. Some days' smoke still found me in memory. A siren, burned toast, the bitter smell from a truck passing outside. On those days, I put both feet on the floor and named the room. Washer, window, coffee, home, not the old home, not the apartment with the tomato soup and the radiator, not Eli's yellow porch lights, not the blue room where I never slept. This one. The place where nobody had to become a symbol to deserve a blanket. Talia's boutique stayed open, but the windows changed. Fewer charity displays, more lamps, fewer signs about kindness. When I passed it, I did not cross the street, but I did not look in either. Some relationships do not need dramatic endings. They become doors you stop trying to open. Once in late spring, I saw her through the glass arranging candles. She saw me too. For a second, we held each other's eyes. Her face tightened, ready for a performance even with no audience. I kept walking. That was my apology to myself, not stopping, not explaining, not handing her another chance to rename what she had done. On the anniversary of the fire, Gloria and I closed early. Eli brought soup. Tomato, barley, carrots, too much black pepper because I had told him once that was how Mom made it. He looked embarrassed carrying the pot, like tenderness was a language he was learning late. We ate upstairs at my wobbly table. Gloria complained that Eli chopped carrots too big. Eli said he followed the recipe. Gloria said recipes were not laws. I drank from my mother's blue mug and listened to them argue like ordinary people on an ordinary night. After dinner, Eli washed the dishes. Gloria fell asleep on the couch with her shoes on. I stood by the alley window and watched steam rise from the laundromat vent, white against the dark. 1 year earlier, I had walked into that steam with one shoe, one mug, and a name someone else gave me. Smoke damage. For a while, I believed the cruelty because it matched how I felt. Burned through. Stained. Carrying a smell people could detect before they saw me. I thought healing meant proving I was untouched. I know better now. I was touched by the fire. Of course I was. I was touched by my brother's silence, by Talia's lie, by the cot upstairs, by Gloria's coffee, by every stranger who brought a bag of clothes and trusted me with the smell of their worst day. None of that made me damage. It made me someone who knew the way out of smoke. The orange ticket still hangs by the register. People ask about it sometimes. I tell them it is from my first night at Finch Street. I do not always tell the whole story. Not because I am ashamed, but because I no longer owe every curious person a tour of the burned rooms. When I do tell it, I keep it simple. My family called me smoke damage. A laundromat owner called me by my name. And somewhere between those two sentences, I learned which voice was mine.